Welcome to another Zero Waste Man video. I am Hendrik, and this is my channel. I talk about zero waste stuff, so if that's any interest to you, yeah, you're probably wondering why I'm wearing synthetic fibers, and this is exactly my point. Did you know that when washing your clothes can shed up to 250,000 fibers per load? Well, now while usually that's not a big deal when it comes to natural clothing, the problem here is synthetic fibers. Now today I'm, like I like to say, fully dressed in plastic. Even this cap, but I ran out of, anyway. So I like to do these. Let's see if that works. The problem with that is these microfibers that break off our clothes cannot get caught by the wastewater treatment plants. That's a long word, wastewater treatment plants. Meaning they actually end up in the ocean, where they sink to the floor. Now they act as sponges. Oh, sorry for the noise. So these tiny microfibers are not, you'd think they're so small they don't really cause a problem, but they act as sponges for toxins. So they like kind of fill up with all these toxins and they latch onto them, they sink to the ground or end up in the ocean. And the biggest problem is that plankton eats it. Plankton is eaten by fish, and humans like fish. So you end up eating your own yoga pants. You may have heard that the average human eats a credit card worth of plastic a week. There is an article written about that, and well, basically a lot of that comes from our clothing. But not to scare you here. In other words, it's 70,000 pieces of plastic per year. That's a lot of fucking plastic if you ask me. And the studies don't actually show what is going on in our system. How do we deal with it? Yes, some of it gets pooped out, and that's been found as well. Plastic in our poop, human feces. And now it's raining plastic. We've got it in pretty much every beer you can buy. How does it affect it? We don't know yet. There are some studies, and a lot of the toxins or a lot of the things that are used to make plastic are very unhealthy for us. And I'll elaborate more into another article on my website about that. Not here. It's getting too dry. Okay. These toxins are then released back into the fat tissue of animals. So, what can you do? Stop wearing these nice, light, breathable, kind of fancy, cool, shiny looking clothes? Well, you can. That's one way to deal with it. But there's also another way. And now our friends from Stop Microplastic have found a solution, or a solution, I should say. This is a washing bag. This washing bag is made from a polymer 6.6, which is essentially a plastic, but it's so fine it collects microplastic. It's a non-profit organization, and these bags are what we use to wash, for instance, bikinis. You know, like nylon and spandex and God knows, all these things is essentially made from plastic. So, to wash our baby's beautiful washable diapers, I'll link it up how I deal with them. We put them in the Guppyfriend, Guppyfriend. L'ami de Guppy. It's a friend for guppies. Guppy is a fish, if you didn't know that. The beauty with this is your clothes actually last longer because they break less fibers. Does it always clean it really well? We've had situations where it didn't clean it too well. You have to do it again, but I mean, you know, it's collecting fibers. Where does it collect those fibers? Good question. Good question. In here. Teeny tiny fibers that you then have to pick out and discard of them. Don't throw them in the bin. Don't flush it down the drain. Completely defeats the purpose. I would suggest to collect them in a glass jar until you have so many that you can stuff a teddy bear with it. So my colleague over here has a bit more information about that. So actually, let's talk to him, shall we? So the way to reduce that is by cold washing your clothes, and less washing in general will help. You don't have to wash your pair of pants every week. Once a month is enough. Like, unless you're playing in the mud all the time, maybe you want to wash it more often. But the other thing that I would totally opt for is trying to buy as much cotton or hemp or natural fiber products. It's not very easy, I know, but I have put a couple of things on my website, and I'm going to put more out there, because it requires a fair amount of research nowadays. Pretty much everything from your jeans that has some sort of elastic stuff in there to the average t-shirt from, I don't know, I don't want to name any names, but the average t-shirt also has a mix of spandex or any other synthetic fibers. So if you do get one, I'll put the links below. Put your yoga pants in there, put your sports gear in there, and try to buy organic clothing. Like, try to use cotton. And I feel it personally, it feels so much nicer on my skin anyway. I notice that a lot with my socks, because I get pretty sweaty feet pretty quick. And I notice when I have wool or like a natural fiber in there, it doesn't have that same effect. In fact, I can wear my socks for like a week, no, I'm joking, for a couple of days, and before they even start walking by themselves. So, you know. If you would like to know the size, it is 50 by 74 centimeters. Thank you for that very good question there. Does your bag actually lose fibers itself? Because, you know, after all, this thing is made from a polymer, so a plastic, if you so will, derived from oil and so on. So I have actually contacted Guppyfriend, and they said, no, it doesn't. It would be silly if it would, because... So what they actually said to me is that the mesh is made out of monofilaments, which is more like sticks and threads, and thus does not release fibers itself. Then I've also had, thank you over there, there's another question here, very good, very good. Does this bag filter out repellent agents? Is this like some sort of matrix stuff?
That's what makes your jacket waterproof.
Makes my jacket waterproof. Water repellent agents are water soluble, so they cannot be filtered out by the bag. And yeah, another great question there. How often do you need to clean it? Well, every time you open it, you can see then either there is a buildup or there's not. So if there's no buildup, you don't need to clean it. If there is a buildup, like I said, pick it out, put it in your glass jar, close the glass jar, and off you go. Do your next load. I would recommend 2 of them, because they are, like we said, they are not the biggest. Now we throw synthetic clothes in there, and then we throw normal clothes in there that don't necessarily made out of synthetic fibers. Sehr gut. Very good. Another good question. How many fibers break less when using the Guppyfriend? Well, tests have proven it's 86% of your fibers that break less. So do the math. You can wear your jumper now not 1 year, but 8. Oh, and I forgot to say, it's $30 US. You can get it through Patagonia or Tentree, and I'll link it below. I believe here in Canada it's around 45 or something like that. True, eh? Thanks. Something more to add. If you're washing your acrylic jumper, for example, you're best off just to put that by itself in there, because why? It can lose fibers and then it goes all over the other clothes, and that's not fun. Is it? It's not fun. Not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun. We don't want that.